Hello guys, good afternoon, Melderon here. We got a Friday Blue Post update from KVAX, Community Manager over at Blizzard, Classic WoW team. This is going to be going with itemization and possible update to progressive itemization. So I want to read this with you guys. It's been a lot of fun over the last couple of months to dive into the development of WoW Classic with the team, while trying to answer some of the many questions that have been posed here and elsewhere, looking at the plans for a phased content release, unlocking dungeons and raids, and unlocking other systems. It's clear that the aim is to create a progressive experience that resembles the original arc from when WoW first launched. In thinking about what belongs in each of those phases, the team's focus has always been on rewards. Developers have scoured through vendor lists and treasure tables for items that were added in patches and then attached them to the staged content unlock plan. This means that if a new item was originally added to a dungeon boss's loot table with Encourage, you shouldn't expect to appear in WoW until Phase 5, which is the phase that contains Encourage content. Guys, I think this is the progressive itemization update we've been looking for. Along the way, we've seen many questions asked if we're also retracing the steps of incremental changes to individual items and their stats that may have occurred throughout original WoW. Such a plan could be called progressive itemization. Here's an example of progressive itemization. The Tier 2 Warrior Helm of Wrath originally had Spirit and Agility on it, as well as critical strike chance. In patch 1.5.0, the helm's stat budget was changed to stamina, strength, and defense, along with elemental resistances. Then in patch 1.7, the amount of defense on the helm was reduced. In patch 1.8, the 5-piece tier set bonus that included the helm was fixed to work with Whirlwind, and in 1.9, it got a better look with an art update. WoW Classic will only include that last version of the item as it existed in our reference 1.12. So guys, one of the biggest lingering questions is what would happen to tier pieces. Would their stats change over the course of vanilla WoW or classic WoW? And it seems we're getting the answer here. It will be in the latest stage. This could have good and bad implications. We were expecting this. A lot of us on the CWL team were expecting to see the last iteration of items and gear. So this is kind of corroborates what we thought, but still it could have some implications with rating and progression. Of course, this raises the question, why? Why differentiate between adding new items along the way and making modifications to existing items? When new items are added to loot tables, you're generally seeing a deliberate effort to provide catch-up gear or to provide new goals for players who had exhausted an existing reward structure, like a raid. For example, in original WoW, items were added to give players a way to quickly prepare for Encourage without having to spend months in MC and BWL. The changing of existing items in patches often illustrated the original design teams responding to how players played the game. Their primary goal at that time was to make rewards more relevant and exciting. Developers realized that Spirit probably wasn't an ideal stat for a warrior raid set helm, was an example of this sort of change. So this actually makes sense, guys. You know, there's a difference between adding items as a catch-up mechanic versus making changes to items due to the meta or how the game was played or how the players realized certain classes should be played. This is the argument they're making here. Many class abilities and talents evolved similarly. For example, going into patch 1.8, the game designers determined that Moonkin Form would be a more compelling 31-point balanced druid talent than the original selection of Hurricane. I know Taladril's happy with that. It's important to remember that there's more to WoW Classic than a long series of changes. Even if each item change could be made, and even if every class change could be progressively recreated, that would still only constitute a piece of the overall landscape of original WoW. We remember how early raid progression was punctuated by unexpected roadblocks and workarounds. As far as we know, everyone with the first Ragnaros kills was only possible due to a bug that made Lava Burst temporarily stop firing after a wipe. Chromagus was practically unbeatable due to Ignite Flesh unavoidably and lethally stacking on tanks until it was discovered that Flamegore's ramp in the laboratory allowed the entire raid to damage Chromagus without being exposed to its breath attacks. Cthulhu was infamously seen as unkillable until a hotfix in April 2006 prevented additional tentacles from spawning while he was vulnerable. Recreating and then refixing every major progression affecting bug wouldn't account for what we think matters much more: the people playing the game. There were many unknowns in original WoW. The first guilds to reach Nefarian spent their initial pulls testing different ideas they had and trying to figure out what condition would get them past the first part of the fight, defeating 40 Draconids. That experience can't be recreated, because the knowledge can't be unlearned. For a long time after patch 1.4 came out, many players simply had no idea how good Obsidian Edge Blade or Age Core Leather Gloves were. The power of weapon skill will be no surprise in WoW Classic. So, rather than try to recreate a specific experience from 2005 that can never fully be recaptured, our aim has been to accurately and fully restore the game's original mechanics and stats to their final and most polished state before the Burning Crusade. That mission has been a pillar of WoW Classic's design from its inception. This means that while content will be unlocked progressively to allow each raid tier to shine, systems such as class design, battleground mechanics, and stats on existing items will be set to their final 1.12 conditions. That should take the pressure off players to be constantly figuring out what we might do next to remain exactly aligned with how the game once played out, and we can all focus a little more on community building and enjoying the experience together. So guys, we've got an answer. It's a kind of a combination. Progressive itemization is confirmed as far as we're considering raid rewards, raid tiers, catch-up mechanics, but it is not confirmed when it comes to changes to raid tier items over the course of the vanilla WoW timeline. So, all your tier sets and similar items will be in their 1.12 final form, if you will, but we'll still have progressive itemization when it comes to content being put out. So I hope this quelled a lot of the questions that are buzzing around the Classic WoW community. Let me know in the comments what you think about this. Will this ultimately hurt or help progression? Will it hurt or help new players? And will it make raids possibly a little bit more easier, especially in the early game? Let me know in the comment section below. It's been a crazy week, guys. We've had a lot of interesting updates. We had that potential beta leak. We've had that, becoming an alpha. Our channel hit 10,000 subscribers. We had the launch of Classic WoW.live. If you haven't been on there, definitely check that out. Put up your content, head to the forums, and start talking about this very topic. Hope you had a good day, and let me know in the comments what you think. Have a good one, everyone. Melderon out.